Jude was one of the 4 brothers of Jesus according to the New Testament. He is traditionally identified as the author of the Epistle of Jude, a short epistle which is reckoned among the 7 general epistles of the New Testament, placed after Paul's epistles and before the book of Revelation, and considered canonical by Christians.Generally Catholics believe this Jude is the same person as Jude the Apostle, and that Jude was a cousin, not a brother, of Jesus. New Testament. Mark chapter 6 verse 3 and Matthew chapter 13 verse 55 record the people of Nazareth saying of Jesus, "Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James, and Joses, and of Judas, and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" Some Protestants, such as R.V. Tasker and D. Hill, generally relate these brothers and sisters to the Matthew chapter 1 verse 25 indication that Joseph knew her not until after she brought forth her firstborn, and the implication that Joseph and Mary had customary marital relations thereafter. But K. Bear points out that Greek omega sigma omicron after a negative often has no implication at all about what happened after the limit of the until was reached. Many Christians believe that brothers of Jesus are not biological children of Mary, but step-brothers or cousins, which is part of the doctrine of perpetual virginity of Mary. According to the surviving fragments of the work Exposition of the Sayings of the Lord of the Apostolic Father Papias of Hierapolis, who lived c. 70163, add, Mary the wife of Cleophas or Alphaeus would be the mother of Jude, the brother of Jesus that Papias identifies with Thaddeus. Mary the wife of Cleophas or Alphaeus, who was the mother of James the bishop and apostle, and of Simon and Thaddeus, and of one Joseph. The Bishop of Salamis, Epiphanius, wrote in his work The Panarion that Joseph became the father of James and his 3 brothers and 2 sisters, with James being the elder sibling. James and his siblings were not children of Mary but were children from a previous marriage. After Joseph's first wife died, many years later when he was 80, he took Mary. Attribution of Jude. The Epistle of Jude has been attributed to him on the basis of the heading Jude, the servant of Jesus Christ, and brother of James, where brother of James is taken as brother of James, the brother of Jesus. Clement of Alexandria, who lived c. 150–215, wrote in his work Comments on the Epistle of Jude that Jude, the Epistle of Jude's author, was a son of Joseph and a brother of the Lord. Jude, who wrote the Catholic Epistle, the brother of the sons of Joseph, and very religious, while knowing the near relationship of the Lord, yet did not say that he himself was his brother. But what said he, Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ, of him as Lord, but the brother of James? For this is true, he was his brother, of Joseph. Alternative attribution. Both Judas and Jude are English translations of the Greek name Iota Omicron Upsilon Delta Alpha Sigma, which was a very common name in the 1st century. Over the years the identity of Jude has been questioned, and confusion remains among biblical scholars. It is not clear if Jude, the brother of Jesus, is also Jude, the brother of James, or Jude the Apostle, son of Mary, mother of James the Less, and Jude. There is an Apostle Jude in some lists of the 12, but not in others. He is called Jude of James. The name Jude of James, as given in Luke chapter 6 verse 16, is sometimes interpreted as Jude, brother of James, though such a construction commonly denotes a relationship of father and son. Other lists of the 12 include Thaddeus, which may be nickname for the same apostle. His nickname may have occurred due to a resemblance to Jesus or to avoid confusion between Jude and Judas Iscariot. A local tradition of eastern Syria identifies the apostle Jude with the apostle Thomas, also known as Jude Thomas Judas Didymus Thomas. Descendants. Hegesippus, a 2nd century Christian writer, mentions descendants of Jude living in the reign of Domitian. Eusebius relates in his Historia Ecclesiae, but when this same Domitian had commanded that the descendants of David should be slain, an ancient tradition says that some of the heretics brought accusation against the descendants of Jude, on the ground that they were of the lineage of David and were related to Christ himself. Hegesippus relates these facts in the following words: "Of the family of the Lord there were still living the children of Jude, who is said to have been the Lord's brother according to the flesh. Information was given that they belonged to the family of David, and they were brought to the Emperor Domitian by the Evocators. For Domitian feared the coming of Christ, his Herod also had feared it, and he asked them if they were descendants of David, and they confessed that they were. Then he asked them how much property they had, or how much money they owned, and both of them answered that they had only 9,000 denarii, half of which belonged to each of them. And this property did not consist of silver, but of a piece of land which contained only 39 acres, and from which they raised the taxes and supported themselves by their own labor." Then they showed the hands, exhibiting the hardness of the bodies and the callousness produced upon the hands by continuous toil as evidence of their own labor. And when they were asked concerning Christ and his kingdom, of what sort it was and where and when it was to appear, they answered that it was not a temporal nor an earthly kingdom, but a heavenly and angelic one, which would appear at the end of the world, when he should come in glory to judge the quick and the dead, and to give unto every one according to his works. Upon hearing this, Domitian did not pass judgment against them, but, despising them as of no account, he let them go, and by a decree put a stop to the persecution of the church. But when they were released, they ruled the church as because they were witnesses and were also relatives of the Lord, and peace being established, they lived until the time of Trajan. These things are related by Hegesippus. Eusebius also relates that they suffered martyrdom under the Emperor Trajan. Epiphanius of Salamis, in his Panrion, mentions a Judicariacos, great-grandson of Jude, as last Jewish bishop of Jerusalem, that lived beyond Bar Kokhba's revolt.